Glynis D'Souza. She is my friend. She's my best friend and also my coach, I would say. Her job is to set high bars for me to reach and beat me up until I reach it. Let me give you some introduction of her. She's a excellent leader and facilitator and speaker and the John Maxwell leadership team. She has served in many Toastmaster leadership roles, and in year 2016 and 2017, she is a notably club growth director, and she was at the international convention and being awarded as a excellent growth director for that year. And she believed that everything happens intentionally, not accidentally. She joined Toastmaster in 2010 in July actually, and she wants to do a HPL project this year to help a non-profit organization or a charity organization to succeed. And she has a wish for something she should have done 10 years ago. Guess what? Is to learn swimming. That's easy for you, Glynis. You can achieve it as soon as the lockdown is over. And she has something in the plan this year, which is to own her own which is to buy her own home. And we'd love to see that happen, Glynis. And I hope a new beautiful home there is waiting for you this year. Without further ado, let's welcome our keynote speaker, Glynis D'Souza. And she's going to do this speech aligned with the Pathway Engaging Humor, Project Level 5 on delivering your message with humor. Please put our hands together for Glynis D'Souza. Design your growth. Design your growth. Glynis D'Souza.
Last Sunday, my neighbor Sammy knocked on our door, and when we opened the door, he said, "Guys, I have a problem. Do you know? Every time I pull out a weed from my garden, 3 more weeds grow back. And you know about that squirrel I was telling you? She has made a nest on my front door and looking sneakily at the strawberries I've been growing. And I can't even begin to tell you about the rabbits. Those rascals are all over my garden. Do you guys have a BB gun that I could borrow to get rid of those nasty creatures?" We looked at Sammy and we looked at ourselves. Now let me backtrack. I live in Canada, and for us, summer lasts only 4 months. One of the big activities of summer is gardening. And believe me, gardening can be very competitive. You see it on social media. I've got fresh fruits and vegetables from my garden. Look at my lovely flowers. Neighbors competing with each other for the greenest lawn. Have you been there? Well, we in Canada have. And our neighbor Sammy was definitely our competitor. Every free time that Sammy gets, he is in his garden, watering the plants, designing the landscape, shooing away the rabbits and the squirrels. It's no wonder that he has the best garden in the whole neighborhood. I'm going to show you a slide of what Sammy's garden looks like. No wonder the guy was just worried with all of these pests that had spawned in his garden. Now compare and contrast my husband's garden, my husband and my garden. We like nothing better than to chill in the backyard deck with a few cold beverages and some spicy sausages on the barbecue. Soon enough, the aroma has attracted a small little party in our backyard. Gardening is the furthest thing from our minds. The only flowers that we have cultivated are strong relationships with the neighbors. Not sure because of us or because of those spicy sausages, but you get the picture. Hence, this is how our garden looks like. Sam's garden, we call him Sammy for short, is well designed, nicely manicured lawn. Don't laugh too much when you see our garden. Our garden is just an assortment of pots that we've grabbed from Home Depot and placed around in random haphazard fashion. No wonder we don't have a perfectly designed garden. You see, it is just like your own personal growth. From time to time, friends, I'm going to pause the share so you may not see anything, but you will see me. And just let me know if you can see my screen again. Okay, that's a little bit tricky too, but I'm going to be doing it that way, just so that you're not on the slides all the time. But suffice to say that that's what I wanted to show you, the difference between designing your growth and really having a haphazard attitude towards it. What you grow will then spawn a flourishing garden of flowers. So what are some of the reasons why I don't have as flourishing a garden as Sammy? Looking at my own efforts, of course, I haven't taken the time to design it, but looking at yourselves, my friends, fellow Toastmasters in Okau, it's your own personal growth garden that you have a chance to design. But as Emmanuel shared earlier today, there are certain buckets that you can grow in, and sometimes when there's a leak in your bucket, that can throw a whole different picture on your garden. For example, like those rabbits and those squirrels, there may be some pests that are polluting your personal growth garden. What are some of those pests that could be the obstacles or the gaps that could be hampering your goals, perhaps to be a world-class speaker, maybe to be a champion speaker like Annie is, maybe an evaluator, could be a business person. Somebody said they wanted to start a non-profit, a charity, a global organization. What are some of those things that may be our growth gaps? And so, resuming the slide, let's go to see what may be these squirrels and these pests, okay, the obstacles to growth. There are 8 main growth gaps that I'm going to talk about. First, the assumption gap. We assume we will automatically grow. You know what? Good flowers and fruits don't automatically grow in your garden. You have to be intentional about your growth. And if you're not intentional and you're accidental or you're haphazard, all you will get are weeds. You're right. So we cannot assume that you will automatically grow. You have to take the time to be intentional about your growth. The knowledge gap. I don't know how to grow. You know what? You are here at a world-class Toastmasters. You really don't have that obstacle. because there's plenty of people here in this club with the knowledge that will give you to show you how to grow. So that cannot be an obstacle anymore. But that can be an obstacle if we don't have the knowledge on how to grow. Number three, the timing gap. How many of you have been there? I know I've been there. There's a story that I've heard about five frogs sitting on a log, you know, and four of them decide to jump off the log. Do you know how many are left on the log? I think I heard some answers, but all five are left on the log. Why? Because four of them decided to jump off. Did they actually do it? It's just like us. So the timing gap tells us it's not the right time to begin. You know what? I can do that tomorrow. That can be a big rabbit in your quest to grow and design your growth. The mistake gap. How many of us are in that category? I'm so afraid of making mistakes. Did you know that you don't need to make the same mistakes over and over again? You can actually learn from your mistakes and fail forward towards success. I've done so many mistakes, I can't even begin to count them. But the mistake gap can be one of them that can hamper your growth. Number five, the perfection gap. I want to be perfect. It has to be the best way before I start. All my ducks need to be in a row. Guess what? Your ducks will never be in a row. There'll always be that one duck who tries to swim away. So the perfection gap, I know some of us are perfectionists. I have to find the best way before I start. No, it's like Nike, just do it. I can definitely say I don't. I suffer from a lot of gaps, but not the perfection gap. I have done so many things imperfectly, and that's why I have made some progress. The sixth gap, the inspiration gap. I don't feel like doing it. Guess what, my friends? You have to feel. You don't have to feel like it doing it. You have to act yourself into feeling it. There are so many times we don't want to wake up on a Sunday morning to attend the meeting, but you do it and then you get inspired. So the inspiration gap can keep us from our goals, from our growth. Number seven is the comparison gap. And this is what we find on social media. Others are better than I am. Why even try, right? I mean, why even try speaking when Annie is the world champion? I mean, I might as well shut up, right? Just making fun of you, Annie, not so much because I know you definitely are a world champion. But I mean, if you compare yourself to others, but do compare yourself when you want to grow. Don't be in a group that you are always the best one. Okay, so join a team like this particular Toastmasters club where others do push you, not in a bad way, but when you compare yourself, you get inspired to be better. Okay, so a good comparison gap is good. And finally, eight, the expectation gap. I thought it would be easier than this. Guess what? Life is never easy. Okay, I was reading a post recently which said, marriage is hard, divorce is hard. You choose your hard, right? And there was quite a few other things that they mentioned as well. But things are never easy. So the expectation gap keeps us, thinking that I thought it would be easier than that. So these are some of the gaps. Try and think when you see it on the screen here, try and think which is the gap, or maybe one or two gaps that I fall into, that are those squirrels and those rabbits that are growing weeds in my garden instead of beautiful flowers and fruits. Okay, so design your growth. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself and how, some of the goals that I have were able to be accomplished because I did a little bit of designing. But before I share that with you, I'd like to ask you, what are some of your goals for this year? Would it be physical, spiritual, mental, financial, professional, entrepreneurial, maybe relationship wise? Think about what are your goals. Because Jim Rohn said, if you don't design your own life, you'll fall into someone else's plan. And guess what they have planned for you? Not much. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen again and show you what I have designed. Okay. My successes and my growth opportunities. My first success is my physical goal. Now, I'm at a stage where I really need to be intentional about my physical goals, and I'm happy to say that I'm part of a Fitbit group that we walk 10,000 steps a day. And I also work out with my friend Melanie at 3 p.m. every morning, every afternoon. We share a YouTube video on Teams and we do a half an hour workout. I'm happy to say, because I designed that, I'm on track with my physical goals. But one thing I'm struggling with is my chocolate habit. This is what I went through while preparing for the speech, a whole bag of chocolate cashews. So if you can tell me a way to stop me from putting chocolate in my mouth, I would really appreciate it. There's a Japanese word called kuchi sabishi, which means lonely mouth. And I suffer from that. So my physical goals have been met, but my chocolate goals have still yet to be met. Next, my mental goals. I used to love reading as a child, but lately I have actually um, kind of transgressed from that. So I joined a book club at work, and I also joined a book club in my business networking group. I'm happy to say that accountability works for me, and I've managed to read 6 books so far, which is actually a really good uh, achievement for me. My spiritual goals. I love to get up early in the morning, but I somehow never used to wake up. And so one of the books that I read was by Mel Robbins called The 5 Second Rule. And she says, put your alarm clock or your phone in the bathroom. And you know what? When it rings, you have no other option but to run out of bed and switch it off. That was worth listening to 8 hours on Audible for that one small little tip. So spiritual goals have been achieved because I'm waking up earlier. But if I were to be vulnerable and share with you, some of the things I struggle with is financial goals. I've been a kind of go with the flow kind of gal. And so my financial goals have suffered because, sometimes I kind of reward myself without planning. And so this year, one of the things, and I'm definitely going to design better, is my financial goals. And you heard that I would like to buy my own house. The second thing is business goals. I suffer from shiny object syndrome. And so a lot of things attract me. I've recently enlisted the help of a business coach to keep me away from that syndrome. And finally, relationship goals. Sometimes I can get into a attitude where I think I'm always right. And so these can affect my relationship goals when, especially my husband and I, don't see eye to eye. And so one of the things that I've learned to do is to be kind rather than to always be right. So those 3 are the goals that I'm still working on. But coming back to the garden that we are going to design, what are some of the things that you can do? One of the things is reflection. Reflect at the end of the day, at the end of the quarter, perhaps at the end of the year to see how you are doing with your goals. The second thing is organization. Organize your calendar in advance. The third thing is advanced planning. Don't leave things to the last minute. Advance plan. The fifth thing is association. Associate with people who want you to succeed. Time optimization. What is your best time of day? For some people, it's the morning. For me, it's the night. I'm a night owl, but I have to watch it that I don't eat too much of chocolate at night. So that's my advice to you, is find the time that works for you best. And finally, join me in designing your growth. I have seminars that are coming up. You can check on my website based on this book that I was talking to you about today from John Maxwell called The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. And so I encourage you to join me to further your growth. In conclusion, like that garden that Sammy was telling us about, our physical garden doesn't look too good, but I'm sure that with a little bit of designing, my garden and your garden is going to look top class, spawned with lots of colorful flowers and fruit. With that, I am going to be singing a small little song for you called Toastmasters Champions, because all of you are Toastmasters champions. And so let me get my little mic here and start my song. It's on the Queen's We Are the Champions. So join in if you can, okay? Toastmasters champions, it's true. And we'll make great leaders out of you. Learn how to lead here. Learn to succeed here. We speak with passion. We are Toastmaster champions of the world. Thank you, and back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Woo! Thank you so much. Yes. Any one of you have been write down notes? There is a lot food for thoughts, right? Chocolate or whatsoever, you're presenting those to us and for us to take in. And that's going to be very helpful to design our garden, design our life, design our future growth. So thank you so much, Glynis, for bringing us this wonderful presentation.